What's good? What's good? This is Odd Solomon reporting, and this is Beyond the Walls. First and foremost, I want to thank God. I want to thank God for actually giving me the opportunities to be here and to have the mind frame that I have, and to have gone through the pains and the struggles that I have, so I can maybe help someone else in need that this might have be in the midst of going through something, or about to make a bad decision, or doesn't what I'm saying, is open to different things. And like I said, I just thank God. I thank God for me allowing me to be here and to be sharing your company. I'm gonna jump right off into it. I did 17 years in prison. I went to jail when I was 17. I got out when I was 34. I come from the hood. I come from the slums. I'm from Algiers. I went to Landry. I went to Berman. Um, I come from a bad childhood, and I was in orphanages. I was in LTIs, group homes, all the way into the big boy jails, and going to Angola, to WCI, and to Cottonport, lastly, and going home from Cottonport about 3.5 years ago. So a lot of people doesn't realize the effects, and I've been watching videos, and my brother-in-law actually showed me a couple videos of guys that have done time, and I wasn't even open to this. I would put my my 2 cents out there, and my point of view, and just because I just wanted people to know me. But now it's evolved into something else, because I've realized that we have all those people that did them times, and they got all the time in '99, when we were the murder capital world, when it was bling bling, and there was a lot of chaos in the city and a lot of drugs. And we all those people that got them 15, 20 years in '99, 2000 are actually home, or close to coming home. And I did time with all these men. And it was a lot of pains, a lot of struggles. Obviously, jail is not a good place to be, but I felt like if you have to be there, you might as well make it to where the time's not wasted. So I wound up getting 5 trades, a barber license, a competitive speaker. I got a minor in theology, and I furthered my education. I read a lot of books, and I talked to a lot of people, and I stayed open-minded. But that still doesn't shield you from the dangers of prison, because you're actually in there with the worst of the worst. These are the robbers and the murderers and the people that society wants to be protected from. So we're all in there together, like sardines in a can. So violence does happen, and things, all kind of things happen in prison. And it desensitizes us, because we're in there for so long, living a certain kind of way. And to say the least, when we return to society, we're not whole. We're not whole mentally. And I tell people this all the time. Okay, I went to jail when I was 17. I got out when I was 34. I just made 38. So chronologically, obviously I grew. I got gray hairs now, but I still have a young heart and a young mind. Not saying that my intellect is up there and my intelligence is high, from a book standpoint, but as far as life and in all its lessons that you need to learn, paying bills and paying car notes and getting your credit right, losing your credit, divorces, marriages, what I'm saying? I haven't done that, because I was in prison, and when you're in prison, it's almost like you're in a time capsule, and then you wind up getting released. And not to get too far off the subject, my main reason for doing this is because a lot of dudes are misrepresenting offenders and what prison really is, and a lot of guys are even glorifying it to say, "Oh, this is what I did." I even watched a guy that he talks about prison, and he was like in Florida or something. It's a white dude. He's got gold in his mouth and dreadlocks, and what I'm saying. Not to say anything about the character, but the things that he was speaking, and by me being a professional of incarceration, I would like to believe that I know. I've seen all kind of different characters of peoples, of wannabes, of trying to be this, of chaotic people, of simple people, of I've even met people in prison, white guys in Louisiana, that's never seen a black person in person. Like, they've seen them on TV, and I never thought that you actually have Louisiana has schools that still segregated in like Bogalusa or somewhere, and it's by choice, obviously, but these black kids don't want to go to school with these kind of white people that's still under the Confederate mind flame, so to speak. But it's you meet a lot of people, you go through a lot of things, but to have this person glorifying it, saying like what he did, and how he enjoyed jail and he enjoyed the fighting and all that, that makes me feel like you wasn't really doing that. You was probably on PC somewhere, and you wasn't living that kind of life. You know what I'm saying? Because how'd you make it out of there? You was stabbing people, you was doing this, and you only did 3 years. 3 years is a big difference from 3 to 10 to 17 to 20. It's a big old difference, because you're taking chunks out. So I'm here to kind of clarify some things, and I just want to talk about things that ex-offenders go through. And I'm going to speak for myself, because I can't offend anybody like that. And I just want to say that when I came home, there's a couple funny incidents that happened. Obviously, I went to jail. I had a beeper. You could hit me on the hip. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna call you back. 911, whatever. Well, they had cell phones, but they were real expensive. And then when I came home, they have these smartphones that somebody FaceTimed me and scared me to death. I was like, man, you could see me right here. I hung up. I was scared. I didn't understand that. And that's one of the funnier aspects. And then it got a little bit more serious because I realized how much behind time I was. When I came home, I had a girlfriend, which I shouldn't have. And I had a girlfriend, and she asked me where I was at one day. Now, she bought me the phone when I come home. Well, I was by another female's house. Obviously, just getting off on the wrong track right away, trying to catch up on lost time. And she said, where are you? I lied, and I said I was in Avondale somewhere. I was somewhere else. And she said, no, you're right here. And I'm like, how do you know where I'm at? Well, she was tracking my phone, and she knew exactly where I was at, and let me know how much behind time I was. And it's even to the points of you got to understand, all these things have been passed. The towers have done fell. Katrina, Gustav, all these things, natural disasters had to take place, and I'm still in prison, living behind a wall and living my life off of commercials. I can damn to tell you every commercial they have on SportsCenter, by verbatim, every word. But these are the little things that that we had. But it's like to be thrust out here that fast, and I'm even on my ride home, and they're going like 45 miles an hour. And I'm like, oh, slow this thing down. You're going really, really fast. My dad's like, we're going 45. And I feel like you're going 100 miles an hour. I'm used to walking. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you have certain incidents, and these things shape you. So whenever you're coming from an environment that all that is dominant and that is paramount is strength. You can have a strong mind frame, and you can be educational and biblical and religious, but if you don't have the strength, they might have a situation that you're not going to be able to respond to because you're weak, or you're not brave, or whatever it is. So you have to adopt that animalistic trait to a certain degree, because I've seen some horrible things happen in jail. And the only thing I can do was to revert back to that bestiality mode, which I was trying to run from so much. But that's the thing that saved me in prison, being able to respond with rage, and coming from the projects and not being scared of anything, and going with, when you're in Rome, you do as the Romans do. So you can get caught up in that. And towards the end of my incarceration, I started, getting into school, and I stayed in school for like 8 years. And I started really leaning on my intellect, but this is only after that I made my mark physically and aggressively and violently. So I was able to stand on mine because I had a past, and people knew that I wasn't this and I wasn't this. And it's hard for a Caucasian guy in Louisiana Department of Corrections. I done been in dorms to where they have 66 in a dorm, and 62 are black. And that leaves, the other 4 as Caucasians. So, you're no longer the majority, you're the minority in prison. But I never looked at myself like that. I come from a black background. I played sports. I grew up in the projects. I didn't know they had that many white people that existed until I moved out of Algiers, until like Gretna. But it left me in a paradox. When I went to jail, I had goals in my mouth. And so I was not black enough, obviously, for the blacks. I was not white enough for the whites. I'm half Mexican, but I'm not Mexican enough for the Mexicans. So I kind of found myself in a solo mind frame, and it was just me. And I met a couple, solid people along the way, and I'm pretty sure that, if you ask them about me, they'll have some negative things to say about me, and maybe that I was a little off, but I did my time the way that suited me. And because I went through a lot being in jail, from divorce to the death of my mother, the death of my whole family that just didn't speak to me because they had a life to live. And, they had things that they had to do, and their life never stopped. So I wound up being alone, by myself. And I said all that to say this, to show how it integrates into when you come home. When I came home, I didn't know how to deal with women, for one. And it's just funny to say it like this, but my first girlfriend, she would kiss me a lot. She would kiss me a lot, and I had been home 3 months, and I had to sit down after about a week of just kissing and wanting to hold hands. I said, "Look, sit down. I need to talk to you." And she's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong, baby?" I said, "You are kissing me entirely too much. Entirely too much. I don't like all them hugs. I don't like." And as I'm saying it, I felt bad because I'm wondering, and I felt stupid because I'm wondering, all those years that I did in prison, all I thought about was a woman and holding her, how she smelled, because the woman is so special. And I have to say that because when you're in prison, you don't have the presence of a woman. So whenever you come out here, and there's just a certain way that a woman speaks, a certain woman way the woman carries herself, her mannerism, and I miss that, and to actually come out here and have to tell my girlfriend, look, I don't want to be kissed, I don't want to be touched, but not realizing that when I was in prison, I wasn't hugging people and I wasn't kissing people. So you go 10 years with just a dap, because I'm not even handshaking because I don't know what you did with your hands, right? So, you don't realize it until you get home that all these things are going to affect you. And it even got so worse because now I'm talking about the mental health aspect and I'm not glorifying it. And that's what people shouldn't do because it's not a place to go. It can be a ghetto college if you allow it to, but it can also be a place that makes you worse and network with other worse people, people that, are going to bring you down. So it's just so hard for us ex-offenders to try to get past, all the things that we've lived, the way that we lived for so long. And when I first got home, I'm at the store, just to give you another example of my life and life through my eyes. Dude bumped into me, and he had like a Snicker bar in his hand or whatever. He bumped into me, and I'm like, hey, man, you ain't gonna say excuse me? And he's like, yeah, all right, man, my bad. I didn't realize. I'm like, yeah, all right. You know what I'm saying? But I was back in that penitentiary mind state. And it's like, those are just the little things that add up, and you realize, man, I don't know how to do technology. I'm lost. I don't even know how to make a email address. The smart TVs, all this technology they have that you feel like you're behind, and you don't even know what's going on. And it's like all of that things, it messes with your head and messes with your confidence. Here I was when I thought that I came home by me having all this education and teaching classes and being a peer support organizer and actually helping the community in prison, that I was going to be able to hit the ground running out here, not realizing that it's a whole different ball game out here. In jail, you know that these people are convicts, criminals. They're not in here for stealing Bibles. So if they want to do you something, you're already going to know, because you already feel like, all right, you're a criminal. You look like this, you're in here for this, I'm in here for this, let's go to war, right? And out here, all the demons and the negativity have different color skin, long hair, short hair, girls, boys, women, kids. You know what I'm saying? These are all different kind of spectrums that you got to deal with. It's a very big world. So it's like the mental health aspect started coming to the play, to where I would go to like, me and my fiance went to a nature trail, and they had a guy that pulled up, and right after us he had like Chicago plates. Somebody else pulled up, and now we're all alone on this trail, the beginning of this trail. Right away I got paranoid. I said, no, I don't want to go down the trail. They're trying to do us something. And she's like, baby, he's 60 years old and that's an old woman. They just trying to see the same thing we're seeing. We're trying to be out in nature. So I'm like, man, we gotta go. I felt this small, but I wasn't scared. I'm just not knowing what's gonna happen. I'm worried about the uncertainties. So it's like, you deal with that, and you deal with, like I said, I'm gonna go back to the funny side. I like to keep a little humor into it. But I go to I was young when I went to jail, so I go to Texas Roadhouse, and I order a steak. Never ordered a steak in my life from a restaurant. It's how young I was and how much of the streets I was, and I wasn't living life at all. And I've been in and out of jail since I was 13. So these things are coming to fruition now. So I said, yeah, I want a steak. She said, how would you like it? I said, on my plate, preferably. You know what I'm saying? She's like, no. Well, how would you like it cooked? I've always heard in movies, medium rare, medium rare. So I thought it was a cool thing to say. I said, all right, give it to me medium rare. My ego was in play then. And when they brought it back, it was bloody. And I didn't like it. But I ate it anyway. But I felt this small, because it lets you know all the things that you haven't experienced. And, people want to put you on this pedestal because you did all this time. And you got the little youngsters that look up to you. Oh, you OG, you did that. I'm not an OG. That was stupidity. Now, I mean, sometimes I want to lie to people, and I'm embarrassed to say, yeah, I did 17 years in prison. Because, I mean, there's nothing glamorous about that. You know what I'm saying? If you're trying to build a life, you're actually already behind time. Theoretically, I'm supposed to be on my second divorce, my second house, you know what I'm saying, and sold this house, maybe renting this house, or whatever, you know what I'm saying, or about to have a nervous breakdown. And in my mind is still trying to adjust. And you got to understand, see it through my eyes. When I go to jail, I'm 17. When I came home, my friend was telling me, he said, man, look at that woman over there who was in a restaurant. And look at that woman, boy, she's staring you down. You need to holler at her. I said, man, I'm not messing with that old ass woman. The woman was only about 34, 35, my age. But in my mind, I'm not realizing that. You got to understand, those things, you grow chronologically. But my last memories was almost high school. You know what I'm saying? And I can still tell you things that happened in high school because I don't have the conjunctions and the collaborations of the mashup of all the things that's happened to me in life. Because in jail, it's almost deja vu. Every day is the same. That's why it feels like 17 years went by fast. And so I realized that when I started looking into the mirror, it didn't look like me anymore. It didn't look like B. I was getting gray hairs. I was getting crow's feet here. And I started not to recognize myself. Then you realize these times are passing. And then when I came home and I see my family and they had got older and they're bigger and they're not babies anymore because I hadn't seen them all the time because I didn't really get visits a lot because I was so far in North Louisiana. So all these things in conjunction leads me to where I am now. And it's like I actually tried. I had to bite down on my pride and really swallow my pride and go to seek mental health professional. And I needed help. So I went to him and I talked to him and they asked me all the wrong questions. It was like a run of the mill kind of thing. Do you want medication? No, I don't. Do you know you can get Social Security, back pay? And that's not what I want. I actually want you to help me. Now I don't want to take these drugs that you're just trying to feed to me. And I know what happens. They had people in prison couldn't deal with prison and would take Cinequan and all these psych drugs and wind up walking around like a zombie. I value my mind. I value my soul. So I don't want that. So now I'm left dealing with this. And the only people that would actually understand is people that's done time. It's people that's actually done time and done mass amounts of time. And that's the ones that I speak to. And I just want to ask them sometimes, are you going through this? Are you having a problem talking to your girl? Because anytime she gets mad, you think she's a dude and you automatically, the hair raises up on the back of your neck. Well, I have to step back a moment and realize this is my girl. This is my significant other that's a female. And I can't get mad like that. But it's like, where do you draw the line at? It's a clusterfuck every day to where I have to deal with it. And I have to take everything with a grain of salt. And I hate doing that. But in recent times, I've had to where I was once a Muslim and I studied all religions and I picked one and it was Islam. And it worked for me for a while. And then I still felt like I was missing something when I got out here. I got on drugs. That's on a whole nother topic. But I found myself in the parish facing 7 years. And I cried. And I didn't cry out to God. I didn't cry out to anybody in particular. But I felt a warmness in my heart. And I felt like somebody had took my pain and just held it tight and put warmth all through my body of nothing but love. Like whenever a long time ago, whenever you would be crying and your mother would, put you in a warm embrace. And you would just have a sigh of relief. And that's how I felt, but there was nothing physical around me. And I believe in God. And it was then that God showed me that you're going to get out of jail. You're going to do great things. I'm always with you and I'll never leave. And for about 30 minutes, I cried. And it was happy tears because it was somebody really loves me, knows everything about me, and still loves me for who I am. And that was powerful for me. And that changed my life. And that changed the way that I look at life. But I still go through these trials and tribulations and these problems. But I know that God's with me all the time. And He's always been with me. And it was just tears of joy to know that I can't lose. I can't lose. And my purpose is already written. And, as is yours. And I just want to be a positive light, and I just want to tell y'all throughout all I've been through, and even though I stress every other day, I always remember to smile, and I always remember that God loves me, and He loves you too. And I just hope y'all stay tuned, and I didn't mean to take up too much of your time, but as I go to running a little bit, I ramble a little bit, I'm sorry. I have a lot to say, but I hope that you have a blessed day, and I'm always thinking about you.